So we are here with a vault video. I'm going to be opening up a couple of my characters' vaults and sharing my decision-making process with you guys. NA servers just came up. We had a very good, very lucrative first week. Pretty, I ran way too many keys if I'm being honest. So I got full hero track for raid. I have full mythic track for Mythic Plus, and I did a couple of delves. I think I did like 4 or 5, so I should have 2 slots there, but that's mostly as like backup for tier just in case I don't get it in any other slot. So what am I looking for exactly? Now, there's a couple of things that I would be looking for. Now, like I said, I degenerately played last week. I got fairly lucky from raid. And because with the amount of keys that I was able to play, I got almost everything I needed from keys. Now, there's a few exceptions. I don't have a ringing ritual mud trinket from the floodgate, which would be kind of nice to have as another source of versatility stat stick, a different type of absorb. It's very strong in dungeons specifically like Mechagon, where there's a lot of dots, or Cinderbrew Meadery, where there's a lot of bleed applications to the tank. So this trinket would be nice for those specific instances. Another trinket that I would really like is from Priory, as the kids say, Tome of Light's Devotion. This is also a very strong damage trinket for tanks. It's one of the better ones that you can get your hands on. I would like to see this as well, so that would be cool. And because of that, I'm going to be rolling Brewmaster Specialization. Now, from the raid, I don't really care for anything, really. The biggest thing I'm looking for, though, if it's not trinkets, it's tier. Now, I already have normal legs and hero gloves, and I have 1 catalyst charge left. I catalyzed these gloves last week early because I got a tier token from raid. And now I'm looking to pretty much get anywhere else. Now, I don't think the gloves are necessarily like the best piece, but I believe we want to ignore like chest this time around. Ideally, it would be helm or shoulders, but if it is on chest, I wouldn't mind. But basically, any mythic track gear is extremely valuable this early in the season. Worst case scenario, I could do something like this. I could add a socket to a piece. I don't want to do this, but I can if I need to. All right, anyways, let's open this up and see what we get. Okay. Fuck. All right, let's talk about some of these decisions that I could make here. I am a little sad that I got tier in the raid section, but I did not get it in the dungeon section, because that means I don't get mythic track loot for that if I decide to take tier. But I did get a helm, and a helm is valuable. This would make my 4 set, so I could take this. I also got House of Cards. House of Cards is a very strong Windwalker trinket, but I don't think I would play it for Brew. It gives you a massive amount of mastery, and when you do stack it, it's a 1.5 minute cooldown. It has a chance to give you, it increases the mastery, the mastery gain from your next hand the next time you use the trinket. So it's really good for Windwalker. I've seen some Brewmaster players talk about potentially using this as an item, but with a 1.5 minute cooldown and it just giving you really mastery, I just don't think it's that valuable in the context of Mythic Plus, and I don't think it's that great in raid single target. I think you would prefer things like Tome of Light's Devotion. You would prefer C4 Pacemaker. You're going to prefer like even Queen's Mandate from last tier. There's just other trinkets that I think just do more damage in the raid setting. I also have hands. Hands I already have on the hero track, and they're actually a level higher, and these don't even have tertiary, so this is just for sure out. I also got Ring of Perpetual Conflict. Now, this is a nice ring because it gives you a ton of crits, and Mastery's not bad. You're already kind of hitting crit DR, though, pretty heavily. So I don't think I would want to actually take this ring. Plus, it doesn't give any main stats, so it would be a smaller upgrade. Now, Priory is here. Sign of the Priory. I don't know how I feel about this trinket, if I'm being absolutely honest. It gives you a ton of secondary stats. It gives you your highest secondary stat, but for me, that's crit. And it's on a 2 minute cooldown, and it lasts for 20 seconds. So the reason I'm not a fan of this trinket is because you're getting essentially the same thing from C4 Pacemaker, but C4 Pacemaker is passive. Now, the difference in uptime is also pretty massive. This is for 20 seconds. C4 Pacemaker is for 30 seconds. And while the values are pretty much split in half, this trinket seems objectively worse to me. in terms of uptime, because then I can actually run it on use and not have to worry about this and lining it up with my Weapons of Order. Weapons of Order, when you're playing Shado-pan 2, has natural CDR in it, so then you have to like sit on weapons to use this trinket properly. You can also send this on cooldown, but then what are you really sending it with outside of like exploding keg? For a pure tank, I don't think this trinket is all that great. I also have one on the hero track already, and yeah, while the mythic track one would be nice, we do have a weapon in here. And this weapon actually seems to be pretty good. I might actually end up taking this, and while it is a smaller gain over what I currently have, it is on the mythic track. It's indestructible, so I'll never have to repair it. That's an added bonus. And the haste, while there's probably a better weapon I can get in the future, this seems to be like the better play. Last but not least, we also got Noggin Fogger Ultimate Deluxe. Now, this trinket's interesting because it's a crit stat stick, and the damage it does actually is pretty interesting. Unfortunately, though, it's not good enough to warrant running. Now, I don't know how accurate these Blood Mallet sims are, but you can see here that Tome of Light's Devotion is just dominant. And then you have other things like Remote Guidance Device, which also doesn't exist for some reason. And when I say for some reason it just doesn't, it's actually technically from Junkyard. So I'm not sure why this trinket is being considered. But then you have some of the trinkets from like the Raid. And then like later down here you have Improvised C4 and Pacemaker, which I just think is a really solid stat stick. And then when you kind of get into these more larger patchwork fights, you have like the Ravenous Honey Buzzer, and you still have Improvised C4 and Pacemaker. And this trinket is just like really, really good. And generally speaking, in Mythic Plus, especially when you're pushing, you like to have like a good offensive trinket, and then you can always slot a defensive trinket. And that's going to be things like Combustible Bomb Suit, things like Ringing Ritual Mud. And so I don't think I want to actually take the Noggin Fogger Elixir. So if we come back to my vault, these items are pretty much out. There's no way I'm going to need, I don't need the hero gear from either of these. I don't need these hands. I'm probably not going to take these. So right now, I'm kind of between House of Cards, Gavel, and Ageless Serpent's Mane. And the reason I'm torn is like Mythic Track's really strong this season. And the thing is, I'll eventually replace any tier piece I get, hopefully, with Mythic Track. Priority of the Sacred Flame does have the Starforged Seraph's Mace, though, which gives me that critical strike and versatility, which are like stats I would generally prefer. And the reason for that actually kind of comes back to tier. Our tier set this season is really like haste heavy for some reason. So like the helm is haste mastery, the shoulders are crit haste, the chest is haste crit, the gloves are haste verse. So almost every single piece has haste on it. The pants are fine, they're crit verse. But haste is not a stat we generally want, which means that we're also, because we're forced to wear the tier set because it's powerful, it means that, well, you don't really need any haste on your gear at all. Sometimes it would be okay to have like a little bit of haste here and there on like a weapon, for example, but you would never really want to like have it on too many pieces. And so that's kind of my concern, is that my crit's going to go down a little too low and my haste is going to go a little too high. But I also have the crit from Improvised C4 and Pacemaker, so I can generally get more reverse elsewhere. This is kind of a tough decision. And because like the other option too is I just craft a weapon in a future week, or I get just a better one in my vault down the road. So it's kind of it's like kind of difficult. Like I know the weapon is probably a better choice, but this also gives me my tier set now, and it gives me a pretty sick fucking Mog, and that's also kind of important. So I think I'm gonna go with the tier. And so what that means is I believe I'm gonna have this Catalyst Charge, and I actually have these shoulders, which are kind of cool. So these shoulders are haste verse with leech on it. Now, obviously the stats don't matter, except the tertiary will stay. So if I come down here, I will be able to come over to the Catalyst. I can throw these in. I can make these shoulders. They will have high crit, low haste, and then they'll have leech on it, which is pretty nice. And so this would complete my 4 set, allowing me to have increased blackout kick damage whenever Luck of the Draw actually procs. So that I think would end up being more than a weapon on the Mythic track. Yeah, I think I'm going to go tier. Let me know down below how fucking dumb I am for making this decision. But instead of taking Mythic track week 1, I'm going to take Um, Hero Helm. Now, the other thing too is I just want to say, like, I do raid on a raid team, but there are a lot of people above me in priority for tier, so I'm probably not getting a tier token this week. It's probably going to go to, like, you know, our rogues, our warriors, our windwalker monks. So I think taking this will just allow me to have 4 set this week compared to, like, waiting another week for another catalyst charge. So I am going to take this. I'm never going to see this trinket again, which is really funny. I'm sure I'll see another weapon from the raid on Mythic Track. I'm not worried about that. And worst case scenario, I craft a weapon next week. It's not a big deal. So we are going to be taking Ageless Serpent's Mane. It is done. And now we're going to slot this in here. We officially have our new 4-set bonus. All right, that was a lot to talk about. Holy cow. So I'm feeling pretty good. I need to get a better chest piece, which I actually think I do have. I just want one with better verse on it, but that's okay. For now, I'm probably going to be able to throw like this piece on with a little bit more speed. Holy cow, I got to fix my transmog. We'll do sword, bada bing, bada boom. All right. We're feeling good. We're looking good. I'm stuck with this Trash Master title forever. Fucking sucks. All right. You know what? I'm not going to do my other vaults in this video for my other characters because I spent a lot of time talking about Brew. But what I will do is I want to talk about a few things regarding like Mythic Plus updates, I guess. So one quick tuning thing that actually happened today with the reset is that the Rookery timer has been adjusted down to 29 minutes. And I believe what this means is that your IO might get adjusted slightly. Like, let's say you had 3 minutes left on this key, and now you only had 1. Your IO may have gone down. And so that, if you notice that, that's probably why. So they're basically buffing the dungeon, because Rookery was super, super easy. Okay, and I shouldn't say super, super easy, but I would say at like the highest end of play, like let's say that you're doing 12s. Timing a 12 Rookery was similar to like Dark Flame Cleft, but it was very, very easy to do. Like a 12 comparison of Rookery to like Floodgate was astronomical. Like they're not even in this, they weren't even in the same camp. So them nerfing this dungeon or buffing this dungeon early is really good. This Unleashed Darkness is the frontal on the final boss. So it basically is forcing tanks to have to move more. Like a good tank might still be able to solo and not have to worry about having their healer in range. But with this buff, it means that sometimes you might have to move a little bit closer to your healer on the last fight and get healed because you are out of defensives or you don't have any self-healing or et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, that has happened today. Outside of that, there isn't really anything crazy. Brewmaster is feeling very good. I've had a few people ask me about Shado-pan versus Master of Harmony. A lot of people are still playing Shado-pan. The reason for that is it just does more damage across the board, specifically in single target. A lot of players don't have their new 4-set, and they might be getting it this week. You might see more people starting to transition over to Master of Harmony, but it was a fairly well-known fact that on PTR and in PTR testing, Shado-pan was still doing slightly more damage, but this can boil down to RNG. It does more single target objectively, but in AoE, like, do you get shadow procs? Are you able to chain pull aggressively enough? Are you able to actually capitalize on back-to-back shadow procs? So those types of things come into play when you're like contributing like AoE damage. But having the new 4-set allows Master of Harmony to really have a good glow up because of the combination of your 4-set bonus with abilities like Overwhelming Force. This is going to cause your Blackout Kick that does 150% more damage to cleave, and you can cast Blackout Kick more often. So these types of things will allow Master of Harmony to shine more. You're going to see more people playing it, but if you see people playing Shado-pan, it's because it does more single target damage, and the AoE damage is a little bit more, it's like RNG, but it can be competitive with Master of Harmony with the new 4-set. Anyways, I will be doing a bigger Brew update video in the near future, so I keep an eye out for that. I also have all my 12s plus and a couple of 13s timed. I'm going to be doing, I guess, commentaries for that over the next couple days as I find time to do so. And I'll also, like I said, I'll be streaming, so come check me out. I rage a lot, and I fail a lot of keys because I'm a Brewmaster. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Obviously, huge shout out to all my Patreons because their support allows me to make content like this. I hope you're all staying happy, healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.